Returning now to our main story, and it seems certain that Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 ended in the southern Indian Ocean with no survivors. China has demanded to see the evidence, with families of some of the passengers staging protests outside the Malaysian embassy in Beijing to vent their anger at the way the announcement was managed. A multinational task force of planes and ships is due to resume the search operation at first light after dangerous weather conditions hampered efforts today. To see how Malaysians are viewing the handling of the treaty, we're joined in Kuala Lumpur by Malaysiakini journalist Aidila Razak. Aidila, welcome to The World. Is there any sense of embarrassment within the Malaysian government? Is there likely to be any fallout, political fallout in Malaysia over the handling of the MH370 tragedy, the days of contradiction, confusion, the delays in responding to available information?
Well, to be honest, in the beginning, there was some sort of annoyance, to say the least, among Malaysians about the contradictory statements and the confusing situation that the government seems to be putting itself in. But as the days wore on, I think Malaysians start to grapple with how complex the situation is. So I really don't think there would be any political fallout. If anything, the key players in the crisis management, Defence and Acting Transport Minister Shamuddin Hussein, for example, would actually gain politically from this. When the foreign media started reporting criticism against the Malaysian government over the handling of it, it actually kind of galvanized Malaysians in a patriotic sense to actually stand behind their leaders, to actually understand what the situation is like, and to support the Malaysian government in this effort.
What about this? The fact is that UMNO, Barisan Nasional, has been in power an awful long time in Malaysia. Is it the case that these days officials in Malaysia, in KL, worry about telling their bosses difficult truths? They're fearful of the consequences if they do. Does that influence the way in which this inquiry has been conducted?
Well, I mean, if you're saying that if one of the officers who was involved in the inquiry may have made a mistake and didn't tell his boss earlier, and that had led to the confusion, I really wouldn't think so, because there is a real sense of urgency and an understanding that this is really important. I really don't think that would have impacted the search at all.
And what about ordinary people in Malaysia? Do they sympathise with the anger being shown, particularly by the Chinese relatives of the many Chinese victims of the plane's disappearance?
There is a lot of sympathy, especially today. I saw a lot of messages criticising the Malaysia Airlines for actually informing by a text message. People felt that was a bit harsh, even though they understand that they were trying to get the information to the families as soon as possible. At the same time, the reaction from the Chinese families, the anger, the attacks on the Malaysian government and calling the Malaysian government executioners, that has kind of turned some of the sympathizers back against the Chinese families. Not so much that they hate them, but they feel that Malaysians are also on board, so how can you call the Malaysian government killers and executioners?
To turn to another subject, Aidila, the Kajang by-election in Selangor was supposed to be setting up Anwar Ibrahim to make another bid for the Prime Ministership of your country. As it turned out, Wan Aziza, his wife, did win in his stead, but not as well as PKR did in the general election last year. Is this simply the result of Mr Anwar not being able to run, or are there other factors at play as well?
That could be a factor. I mean, if Anwar had run, the turnout might have been higher. So the crucial thing here is that the turnout had dropped by 16% compared to the general election in the same seat. So because of that drop, we see a lot of the Chinese electorate, ethnic Chinese electorate, did not come back. So there was a concern among PKR that the majority would drop. However, when you look at the popular vote, they actually raised the popular vote despite the turnout dropping by 16%. Whether or not Wan Aziza running instead of Anwar contributed to this, it's something to be analysed further. But I believe that another factor was the fact that people got a bit tired of politicking. It's been a long, I don't know how many, not even 1 year, but it's been a lot of months since the general election and a lot of politicking since then. And people feel a bit tired considering that there's so many rallies that have been taken place since then. Also, the fact that Anwar's not running and his wife was running doesn't really change much in terms of the state government. Previously, there was a lot of talk that Anwar was running so that he can actually take over as the chief minister in Selangor. But with him not running and his wife running instead, people feel that we sit the status quo in the state government, so it's not worth voting, perhaps.
Aidila Razak, thank you very much for joining The World. Aidila Razak, Malaysiakini political correspondent.